So I wanted to make a video discussing my thoughts on police brutality. I know that it's a controversial topic and one that many in society refuse to even acknowledge exists. There are many people that are of the belief that the victims of this type of brutality or killings bring this behavior on themselves by refusing to follow orders of police as they should. So first I'd like to mention that to many of those people who are ignorant of the realities of life, don't take offense to this, but the truth just may be that you have not lived in that segment of society or under the circumstances under which police interact with people in that type way, the violent and aggressive type way. I myself have not only observed and witnessed police brutality to people that I know, to people that I don't know, on the streets in free society, even more so in state custody, in Department of Corrections. Correctional officers, in my opinion, are a lot worse than regular police officers as far as how they abuse their power and authority, because typically there are no avenues of recourse for those victims. Basically, they beat people up and they put them in solitary and make up some fake charges and allow their victims to heal before they're able to document their injuries or before they're able to make contact with anyone in the outside world. In addition to that, there is a code of silence among officers, both correction and regular police officers, where when one behaves outside the normal guidelines of police activity, the others tend to cover up and are more than willing to lie for their fellow officer. So one story I'd like to mention that actually occurred with me was while in custody. I was in a county jail. I had been there for almost 2 years at that point, and an officer just started a problem with me. I didn't know the cop. I knew a lot of the cops since I was there for a long time. One of them, for no reason, started a problem with me about some stupid thing. He made up a lie. He said that I threatened him. It was not true. I had 40 witnesses. I had a multitude of evidence proving otherwise. But the way it works while you're in custody and charged with something is that you're going to be found guilty regardless of the facts, no matter what. You have no rights. You've lost those rights. So in any case, I ended up going to solitary confinement for that one, which is fine. It's part of the reality of being incarcerated. But something then happened. Because I'm not the type man that typically would back down from an altercation like that, though I have on many occasions, because I'm sensible enough to know when I'm going to be killed and when it's the right time to react and when it's the right time to stay quiet. In this particular case, this cop was just full of shit. I had no respect for him, no respect for his actions or his lies, and so there were some words exchanged. I ended up being placed in solitary confinement. This same cop, along with two of his friends, showed up in my cell. Right after the whole thing happened, they came there and they stripped me completely naked and they handcuffed me. So I was handcuffed behind my back and I was completely naked in a room with 3 men in a little cell. I had my back to the wall, and basically these guys were going to beat me up. And it's not uncommon for them. So I was in a very different state of mind back then, and I didn't give a fuck. I was just basically ripping them apart verbally, telling them, what I thought about them and how they must be homosexual and they must enjoy looking at other men's assholes and dicks. And it was just, it's a terrible, terrible situation to be in when you have no rights. But in any case, I knew what was going to happen, and I was telling them at least unhandcuff me and be fucking men. Don't be fucking cowards. Don't beat up a man who's naked, 3-on-1 and handcuffed. At least take the handcuffs off, and we'll find out how fucking tough you are. To make a long story short, another officer came in. The guy who worked in solitary on a regular basis. He knew me. I'd spent a lot of time in there already in that unit, and he happened to come in. His shift began as these other officers were about to start beating me up in there. And this officer actually came in and stopped the whole thing from happening, and I give him a lot of credit for that, and I thanked him many times for that. He basically came in and he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? What are you doing with this guy? Why is he handcuffed? Why is he naked? Take the handcuffs off him, get the fuck out. And so they did. So that situation, I was able to avoid myself. I was very fortunate that it never happened to me directly to that level, mainly because I know how to interact and move around the cops, as I've been in the system for a long time. However, with that being said, again, going back to the comment I made earlier, I was a very different man back then. I'm a whole different person than I am now. And the reality is had that one man in particular who started and incited this whole thing put his hands on me and beaten me up like they have so many others in that jail that day, I would have came out and I would have killed him. I would have fucking murdered him. I would have murdered him, and I would have done it in such a brutal way that people would have been fucking shocked by what they saw and heard. And what would that have made me at that point? In society's eyes, I would have been a cop killer, I would have been evil, I would have been this and that. Fuck that. What about honor? What about my right to be a fucking man and not be dishonored by another? What about that? In my mind, those laws, the law of man, the law of God, the law of nature, trump all man's laws that he has written with regard to how police and civilians are supposed to interact with each other. Fine, I respect there are always rules, there's always authority. I do my best to act within the confines of those rules. However, I don't believe that any man has a right to cross that line and humiliate another and to take his manhood and to take his honor, to beat him, to kill him. I don't believe in that. I don't give a fuck who they are. Cop, not cop, gang member, whoever the fuck you are. And so the reason I say this is just to give a little different perspective to a lot of people who may not agree or may not even relate at all to what I'm saying. But had that man and his friends beaten me up in there, who would have been at fault for the consequence that happened after? For me coming out and murdering them? Who's at fault? Me? I'm the bad guy? Or them? And this happened many, many years ago, and to this day, though I've changed so much, I'm still absolutely of the opinion that they would have been responsible, and they brought it on themselves. And if that man died, fuck him. He died as a result of his own actions. And it would have been a good lesson learned to him and to his fucking boys that you should not fuck with people. You should not go out of your way to abuse people. You've been given a position of authority and power, and you should respect that. And you should get this fucking thought out of your head that you're any better or any different than any others, and that there are not going to be consequences to your actions. I normally would never share stories or any detail of my past life in this way, as it's only to my detriment, I understand. But I do so to let people know that it's more important for me to help others now than it is for me to maintain whatever reputation or whatever good standing I may have in the eyes of a lot. The truth is, this is what happened to me. This is my reality, and I have no reason to be ashamed from it. I've never done anything that I'm ashamed of. Shit happened, things went bad, and here I am. I'm very, very fortunate and blessed to have walked out of that. And I thank God very often, and I think often of that man who came in, the other cop, and stopped that thing. Not for myself, not because of what would have happened to me, but because I know the kind of man I was at that time, and I know what the fuck I would have did to that other cop. I know. No matter what. Whether it cost me my life or not, that man would have fucking bled and lost his life at my fucking hands, and he would have been begging me for mercy if he did that to me. So again, I was very fortunate, but I've seen it happen to a lot of people. A lot of people. I've seen them beat the fuck out of people, stomp people. They stomp women. They abuse old men. They kill people for no reason. And this shit has to stop. And to any officers that are out there watching, don't take this as a disrespect. Don't take this as an act of aggression towards you. Be a fucking man and realize that what I'm saying is right. You're only of the position that you are now because you're on that side. Take your stupid fucking badge and gun off and be a real fucking man. Be a real fucking man and encounter people and treat them the way you would, the way you do now, without the badge and gun. And see how fucking tough you really are. And that's all I have to say about this. Thank you.